Well, we've just finished watching the complete series of Saikano, which is also known as the last little love song on this planet. No, the last love song on this little planet.
Something like that. Or She, the Ultimate Weapon in English.
So it's got a few titles. The series follows these two high school kids, Shisei
and Shuji?
Shuji is this guy,
Yeah.
and Shisei is his new girlfriend. And they haven't been going out for long before he finds out that she's actually a sort of cybernetic robot
Thing. Ultimate weapon, essentially.
being used by the Japanese in this ongoing war, which is always going on in the background.
Yeah.
And it's basically about them trying to maintain their relationship and their normal lives as high school students, while at the same time the threat of war is continually growing, and she's constantly being called off to destroy enemy cities and fight and do wreak havoc on the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I liked about this series...
You liked something about it?
Well, to give it its dues, I thought in the first few episodes, the whole idea of her being this weapon served as a very good kind of analogy for, I guess, for what it's like to be a teenage girl. In that, this is going to sound a bit crass, but this girl's body is changing. She's very worried about herself. She's just... No, I'm serious.
Yeah,
She's just started like her first relationship, and it kind of plays on various issues. Like there's there's one episode where she's worried that she's getting too big because there's literally mechanical parts growing inside her, and so she stops eating, and so that serves as kind of for girls who have eating disorders.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And there's all this sort of thing that I thought was really kind of interesting, how they use this kind of very far out science fiction-y concept to relay these points. The problem is that despite this, I wasn't really that interested.
Yeah, certainly.
I thought that there are a lot of problems with this series. It was very long-winded. Not a lot actually happens. And I almost felt like, I did like the initial concept. There were certain things I liked. But I just felt like it could have worked maybe as a 2-hour film, a 2 anime film. But instead it's this long, drawn-out series where it's just stuff repeating itself over and over again. And then
I'm going to say part of that problem might be because it was being adapted from the manga, which was currently still ongoing.
Right.
So that the ending of the series is different from the ending of the manga. I haven't read the manga. Probably should. Might. Not sure. Who knows. But that might be the problem there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it seems to go in circles and nothing is resolved. And speaking of going in circles, the other thing is that the dialogue
is horrible.
Is woeful, and it's so wet. It's really like wet. It's all about like it's a lot of romantic stuff, which isn't bad in itself,
horrible,
but it's
so portrayed horribly.
Yeah, and things like they'll say things that might sound slightly poetic once.
And then they'll say
it again. But they'll say it again and again and again, and every time they meet, they're saying the same stuff. And if you actually listen to it, if you actually try and apply real-world logic to it, it just doesn't mean anything.
I'm half tempted to just make a video of all the times they say certain things.
There are these exchanges where it's going like, let's live together, like, let's live, let's be one, and all this stuff. And that sounds nice and romantic, I suppose, but people don't actually speak like this. And if someone in real life said that to you, you'd be going... What precisely do you mean by that? Does that actually mean something?
But if you're looking at it, she's a robotic weapon. So, in some ways, it kind of works, but I do agree with you.
But it wasn't robotic. It was just nauseating.
Yeah.
And it was also like... Another problem was that I didn't care about the characters at all.
Yep. No, that's true.
Emotion. I mean, I know she's dealing with a kind of a big problem, but she's so...
Bit of an understatement
she's so whiny. She's just constantly complaining.
Like, they say that's her character, but there's no excuse for it.
And then his character is this useless guy who's really not... When you actually think about it, he's a pretty useless... Like, he's not a nice guy, particularly. He's kind of weak and pathetic. And you just... I didn't feel for these characters at all. I've raised this point, I've raised it at least once in previous discussions of anime we've done.
Slice of Life?
Slice of Life. It's like... I don't care about these people's
I really want to show you Lucky Star, but I know you won't watch it.
I want to. It's just so like... when you outlined this concept to me about this weapon, I was like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
we're going to get lots of action, and there's no there's very little action.
Until the last episode, which, in some aspects, was a very good last episode, other aspects horrible. But...
The other thing is that, like, And I don't need action, but like,
Would have helped.
literally nothing happens, and there's all this. There was like potential for some really interesting, violence. I guess I don't want to sound like that's all I'm interested in, but like there was just nothing. It was just this constant dialogue and her going on about why is this happening to me? And the number of times she said, "Why is this happening to me?" Like,
Oh,
I'm sure you feel bad about that. I would too, but I just don't. I got tired of it, and that's why I think make it a movie. Cut out a lot of this repetitive dialogue. You keep all the same characters. Some of the supporting characters I didn't mind.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of because the boy's best friend is this girl and she's in love with him, and then his best friend's in love with her, and the two girls are best friends, and that's kind of your eyes rolling. And then there's this teacher who's in love with the guy, and the teacher's husband is this soldier who meets she's the ultimate weapon, and then they fall in love.
It sounds so bad when you say it like that.
It is bad. It's really ridiculous. But at least, like, I did care about them to a certain extent, except then again, they don't really serve much purpose.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say this. I first watched this when I was in Year 10, so that's like 3 years ago. I absolutely loved this anime then. I thought it was one of the most depressing things I've ever seen, which I liked.
You were really
strongly that's
pushed
why I recommended this so much, and I don't anymore, because it really isn't. It might have just been my mood at the time. It might have been because I was younger and I hadn't watched a lot of other stuff at that point. But it's actually really not very good, especially when what I compare to what I thought it was. I thought it was great, and now I think it's horrible.
I just thought it was a little pretentious almost.
Yeah.
Like, I just got tired of listening to them talk. On the technical side,
average. Very average.
Animation was okay.
Animation was bad, in my opinion.
Really?
There was a lot of, what the internet refers to as quality, which is just horrible proportions, especially with the main guy. You'd see his shoulders were like 3 times the size of his head, which is shocking proportions.
I didn't like the people designing, like, their faces.
Yeah, like, the animation was not great by any massive standards. I mean, in the last episode, I was in there going, wait, this series was 2002, so that means it was after Cowboy Bebop. Nope, that's bad animation then. Because Cowboy Bebop is much better animation. And, honestly, this could have done so much better.
One issue I know we both had, and we constantly would, like, almost, like, glance at each other at the same time, and we used the music.
Oh,
it's like
it's cheesy
really
Steve Vai 80s.
It's like 80s
rock.
guitar,
80s
like
slow rock.
lone guitar. It was so like overwrought and just like you just were rolling your eyes, and it seemed like every single scene of dialogue, specifically between the two of them, they wanted to be really I guess
dramatic,
epic,
tension. I don't know.
Soulful. They really wanted it to be soulful, and it just felt. There was a point in the last episode where they're using the guitar that actually really worked.
Yeah, it was more of a it was using effects, and it sounded good.
That was actually more appropriate to the scene, but it just overall the music was distracting and really just not that great.
Absolutely horrible.
I mean, I feel bad. I didn't hate it. Maybe we actually watched it in 2 sittings.
Yep, sittings.
We watched the first 6 episodes a few days ago, and we just finished watching the remaining 7. I gotta say, I wasn't a huge fan of it, even in the earlier episodes, but I definitely think it got worse.
Yeah.
As they moved away from that, the analogies I was talking about earlier, as some of the supporting characters didn't make as many appearances, when it was more as their relationship got more serious. Because at first, it's very much almost a comical situation. They're trying to have this regular high school relationship while at the same time she's this weapon. But then in the later episodes, it's much more like this military action going on all the time. People are dying. It's very heavy stuff. And I just thought that led to more of that dialogue you hated. And it really killed me. I thought the last probably 6 episodes were really woeful.
I mean, it's just... compared to what I saw it in my memory, I'm so sad that I had to watch it again, really, because I remember it being amazing.
I mean, like I said, conceptually, I think it's great. I think
it's got a great concept.
The ideas it puts forward, both in its initial premise and in some of those things I discussed, definitely work. It's almost, you might not get this reference, but it's almost like a kind of Cronenberg thing, who's a director. He made The Fly, Videodrome, basically about how he uses... kind of horror concepts and very weird, gross, like The Fly, this guy's turning into a giant fly. But he uses it to make kind of social commentary, which is what I thought this was doing.
Yeah, probably.
Kind of like District 9, a recent film.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, just really weak.
One thing I will say, Chisei's design, as in like actual visual design, like her character design,
when
shocking,
she's a person
but her
or when
visual
she's
design, where like with the wings and all her weapons, I think is amazing.
I thought it was
Like
really cool
it's
looking.
one of the more well liked things on the internet. Like the series, not so much. I'm not sure how well it's known on the internet. It's
I mean,
suppose it
I'd
kind of
certainly
is.
never heard of it, but that doesn't really say much.
I think it's kind of well known, but her design as a character is something you'll often see crop up on
See,
wallpapers.
I thought
and
she
that.
looked good as a when she was in the weapon, when she was glowing and when she had
Yeah.
all this stuff, but you barely see that, which was
Unfortunately.
just a big disappointment. So yeah, overall, I cannot bring myself to recommend this series at all.
I'm not going to recommend it.
Stay-
I would
stay away
have,
from
but
it.
not anymore. So
Yeah, that's about it.
probably avoid it.